Welcome to Small Talk by Sfarim Chatter. I'm Nachi Weinstein. On this episode of Small Talk, I'm going to be joined by Elad Danino, who is the founder of Shnayim Yomi and the man behind the impetus, if you will, of the newly published Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum, published by ArtScroll, which is Hebrew and English edition of a Shnayim Mikra Chumash, as we'll discuss. Bereshis is now out, and the rest of Chumash is forthcoming throughout this year, and we'll be discussing this volume. So thank you, Elad, for joining me.
Happy to be here.
What can you tell the listeners about this new Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum Chumash?
So this idea actually came a couple of years ago, that one day when I was recording Rabbi Moshe Bamberger, who is the Mashgiach of Landers in Queens, he gave me the idea. He said, Elad, you must come out with a Chumash. Your program needs a Chumash. And I totally bought into the idea. I approached ArtScroll. Took them a little time, but eventually they came around and they really were behind it as well.
So I think we should maybe start by explaining to listeners, what is Shnayim Yomi? What's your whole program, organization? What is this? And then we'll talk more about this Chumash.
Perfect. So Shnayim Yomi started a little bit less than 5 years ago. I was on the way to the Daf Yomi Siyam Shas. Happens to be, I went with a couple of friends. We took the subway from Kings Highway in Brooklyn down to Barclays Center, Atlantic Avenue. As we were going, the train had a ton of From Jews, and everybody was catching up on their Daf Yomi. Very obvious. And I had my Stone Chumash, my ArtScroll Chumash, and I was catching up on Shnayim Mikra. So a guy came over to me. I still don't remember who he is exactly. I have to find out. I have to try to get him. And he goes to me, hey, I think you're learning the wrong subject. So I asked him, I said, you're right. And then I thought about it. I said, could it be that I'm not? Maybe I'm learning the right subject? And I turned around and I asked him, do you happen to do Shnayim Mikra? And the guy told me no. So I said, hold on, you're doing a siyum on the entire Shas and you don't do Shnayim Mikra? So the guy told me yes. And then I ended up walking around the train and asking a bunch of guys, doing a little stats. And it turns out that most of the guys were not doing Shnayim Mikra. And I couldn't believe it. So slowly I cooked this idea of how do we get guys to be excited about doing Shnayim Mikra, just like they are with Daf Yomi.
Right, and in fact, it's a Gemara and Brachos. I'm sure many listeners are familiar, but we'll read it. The Brachos Daf Ches. Amar Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Amar Rav Ami, La'olam Yashlam Adam Parshei Yosef HaMetzibur. You have to be mashlim the Torah, Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum, va'afilu ha'Torahs v'diboin. So not only you have to do it, they say you have a riches yomim if you do this. So this is something that's very important as halacha, and like you're saying, I mean, Daf Yomi is very important. This is not a knock against Daf Yomi, but people don't really do Shnayim Mikra. They do other things, but Shnayim Mikra sometimes gets kind of left by the wayside.
Right. So slowly but surely, I started cooking this idea in my head. It probably took me a good couple of months, and I was thinking, and there were two main points that I thought needed to be tackled. One was that I needed to make it a daily program to hold people's hands throughout the entire year to get them from Bereshis till the end of the Chumash. And the second thing was I had to make it social. I had to make it exciting, just like they're excited to make a siyum at the end of a Masechta. The same thing they should be able to do with the Chumash. So in the beginning of the year, we have our annual kickoff event, to give people chizik to begin. And then at the end of every Sefer of Chumash, generally in a different city, we'll host a little get-together, siyum, could be Malav Malka, could be a Sunday breakfast and a shir in different cities throughout the country.
Yeah, I think what Shnayim Mikra is hard, first of all, it always starts off with Bereshis, and you have that usually short window from Simchas Torah to Parashas Bereshis to get it done, right? And the Bereshis is huge, and the whole Sefer Bereshis is big, so these big Parashas. And sometimes it's harder to do. And I think that's one thing, like knock against it, if you will, something going against it. And then you also have with the Targum. People do Targum and they don't understand Aramaic well. They're not sure like what they're reading. And it's just like, okay, like what's going on? Is that what do you have to say to that? And what's like the feedback you get from people?
So I'll tell you, I mean, I'm lucky, I guess, because my parents are Israeli. I speak Hebrew fluently. So for Israelis, Shnayim Mikra is actually not much of a problem like it is for Americans. I did grow up here in America, so I do understand the issue. The problem is that Loshan HaKodesh, right, the Hebrew language is just not as fluent to the guys here in America. So they need to do the pasuk twice. and they need to do Onkelos. They want to understand the pasuk in a basic English translation. Then they have to do Onkelos, which is already a completely different language. So it's not so easy. So therefore, I thought it was really Rabbi Bamberger's idea was to come out with this chumash to make it very easy and practical for day-to-day Shnayim Mikra.
Right, and we're not talking about Shnayim. I want to get back to the Chumash now, but I mean, one thing that people could do is, like you're saying, you do it every day, you do an Aliyah every day, however it is. Also, you can do only one time Mikra, one time Targum, and do the second time Mikra with the Balkira. That's what Dan Allah, I'm sure many people do. I mean, that's I do it for many years. Correct. to try to do Shnayim Mikra every week. But now, talking about the Chumash. So you made this Chumash, and let's talk about the Chumash. Every Aliyah has an English introduction. Then you have on the right side of the page, you have the pasuk, but it's done in the, many people are familiar with the Shnayim Mikra Chumash, so it's pasuk, targum. And the left side, there's this English translation based on Onkelos. Let's talk about that. And then you have Rashi in here as well. I guess for those that want to go with the Rosh and do Rashi for their, to Mekayim for the targum. Or what's with the English? You want to talk about that also. So let's talk about the Chumash.
Sure. The Chumash is really here to give anybody that wants to do Shnayim Mikra all the options. You want to do it on a basic level, you want to do it on the highest level, it's all here. If you want to do it just twice the pasuk, once the Onkelos, you can get that done. You want to do it Onkelos and the Rashi, if you're holding there, then you can do that as well. Or, and this is really a big breakthrough, if you ask me, in the Shnayim Mikra world, is now you can do the pasuk twice and the English once, because this English goes according to Onkelos. It's based on Onkelos. And you'll see in the introduction to the Chumash, we have a psak from Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky and Rav Yitzchak Yosef that both gave us a psak that you can do this English and be Yotze the Targum portion of Shnayim Mikra.
Amazing. So those that want, they could read along with that English translation. And this English translation came from, Art Scroll has their Onkelos Chumash, where they had this there. But there, I think it was inline, it was different than, here you have, again, the layout for those, pasuk. So it's on the right side of the page is the Hebrew, on the left side you have the English, and the right side is pasuk, targum, as they have it. And then you have, like you said, the Rashi. Did they also include, like Haftarahs? Can you just bring this to Shul as your Shul Chumash also?
Yes, in the back, all the Haftarahs, all the entire year is there.
So you can do it. Now, on the Svarim Chatter WhatsApp community and Twitter, I post new Svarim when they're coming out. So when I first saw this was on the landing page on Art Scroll, got a page, I posted it. And people were like, send me eye roll, or their comments were like, Shnayim Mikra Chumash, whatever. And like Art School has to make a Shnayim Mikra Chumash, like, what are they doing? What's going on? So I'm sure you've gotten some of that feedback. What do you have to say why this is an important project, an important Chumash, and why people should think about picking this up?
It's a good question. It's definitely a good question, and I think it took Art Scroll a little bit of time to really give it the right thought. Rav Gedalia Zlotowitz, the president of Art Scroll, and I have been talking about this for a while, and really he was very honest with me, and he told me I need to make sure that this is going to be a service for Klal Yisrael, and I felt that way from the beginning. So a guy could open up any Chumash and hop around, jump around the pasuk over here, and then find the Onkelos and somewhere else, and then maybe the English, and it's not as as an easy flow as this Chumash. So that's from design wise, just easy on the eye, easy to learn. The English is a huge component because, let's be honest, a lot of guys, I can tell you, doing just running Shnayim Yomi for the last 4 years, how many guys have been asking me, can we do it in English? And it's not so easy to say it's okay. I think most poskim till today said that English is not good enough because it's just a simple translation of the pasuk as opposed to adding any type of a chiddush that Onkelos adds, and that's really what the breakthrough with this English. As well, Rav Moshe Bamberger did a beautiful job giving an introduction to each aliyah. And that's really kind of complementing our program, and I think everybody will really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just pulling a random one. In Parashas Noach, the 7th Aliyah. So you have 7th Aliyah, and start off with Moshe Bamberger's intro. Noach's descendants are enumerated and become the forebearers of the 70 primary nations of the world. All nations are unified by a common location, language, and purpose. They attempt to build the Tower of Babel, brackets, they have ascending to heaven to wage war against Hashem, as it were, end brackets. But Hashem foils their plans by undermining their unity. He confuses their language and disperses them throughout the world. 10 generations from Noach to Avram are enumerated. Terach is the father of Avram, Nachor, and Haran. Haran begets Lot. Avram's wife is Sarai. She is barren. Terach takes Avram, Lot, and Sarai from Ur Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan. They arrive at Haran, where they settle. So it's kind of giving you that overview of like what's to come in this aliyah. Here's what you're going to have. Here's what you're going to now read about. So I guess it kind of orients the learner, the reader, of what they're about to go into, what they're about to read, and kind of gives you the very basic synopsis overview. Is that the point? It's just a very, very basic pshat, just to give you an overview.
Yes, we wanted it to be a basic summary or introduction, however you want to call it. And it does mimic our program, because our program gives a daily 2-minute video with an introduction to the aliyah, usually one vart, one nice idea. And I think it's very helpful, and I'm hoping that everybody will enjoy it.
So how did you arrive at this layout? You said Rabbi Bamberger was involved with the idea of the Chumash, and you were talking to ArtScroll for a while. So how did you to arrive at where it's going to have the intro, and then, the Mikra, Targum, and then on the left side, the English, and then the Rashi? How did that come about?
So we basically took the standard Hebrew Shnayim Mikra Chumashim that are used, very popular, especially in Eretz Yisrael. And the main point was to add the introduction and to add the English. The English had to line up pretty leveled with the psukim, so that when a guy does the pasuk twice, he could quickly just look to the left and get the English.
Yeah, there are gaps in English, which is nice, really, here. So you have, because sometimes you have by Aleph, you'll have like a pasuk Aleph, you'll have the pasuk, and then the pasuk a little bit lower, it's like indented a little bit, and then in smaller and different fonts you have the Targum, and then next to it you have the English. But then on the next line, then you start again with the pasuk. So you have that there's like a little gap, and sometimes there's larger gaps depending on how big, let's say, the Onkelos is, where it's just, you can kind of see it's not running together, and you're kind of confused, because sometimes that's what happens. Like, wait, where am I holding? Where's the Onkelos? Where's the pasuk? So you always have that there's a little bit of a break for those interested in reading it. So, who would you say this Chumash is meant for? And I guess really this applies to the whole Shnayim Yomi.
It's a good question. I think it's for everybody, but anybody as well. There's a whole group of people. I could just tell you from the Shnayim Yomi world, we have guys. I have tons of high school guys and seminary girls and Rebbeim and you name it that are on the program. And I think this is going to be the same thing for the Chumash.
Also, you mentioned the Shnayim Yomi before. If you want to tell the listeners about it, for those interested, I'll link to purchase the Chumash in the show notes. But for those interested in joining Shnayim Yomi, you mentioned they have like different Torah. Like, how does that work? And you could tell them about it a little bit. And I could also, how can they join and how can they access your content with Shnayim Yomi in general?
So anybody's able to go to shnayimyomi.org. On the website, there's a link to join Shnayim Yomi. So there's different platforms that you're able to receive the 2-minute video. There's WhatsApp, there's emails. We're going to be on the podcasts. And and that's it. And once you're on it, you'll be notified every time there's an event. I highly, highly recommend the beginning of the year. The kickoff event is usually beautiful. It's in Brooklyn. The last few years, our keynote speakers were Rabbi Joey Haber, and we were blessed to have Rav Reuven Feinstein to come as well each year. This year, we're adding Rav Gedalia Zlotowitz and Rabbi Moshe Bamberger. They're going to be presenting the Chumash at the event. As well, we will be having Benny Friedman giving us some nice music so that we can dance and celebrate this tremendous, tremendous milestone.
So I usually ask, not always, what are you trying to accomplish with the Sefer? I think it's pretty clear what you're trying to accomplish with the Sefer and with the Shnayim Yomi initiative. You want everyone to do Shnayim Mikra. That's really what you're trying to accomplish. I just want to ask you, what the feedback has been over the 5 years since you've done it. And this is obviously brand new, and we're recording this actually before the Sefer is out, even though, it'll be available when you hear this. So have you gotten any feedback on the Chumash yet?
Chumash, I've gotten amazing feedback, and I'll tell you the best feedback that I've gotten actually was when I was in Israel 2 months ago in the summer, and I brought it to Chacham Yitzchak Yosef, and I wanted to show it to him and ask him if a person could be Yotzi the English, with the English is the Targum. And he was floored. He actually looked me and he gave me gave me like a kiss on the forehead. And he told me, this is what we call in Israel a startup. You thought of an idea that people weren't thinking about, and you can help hundreds of thousands of Jews do a mitzvah that they possibly wouldn't have done anyway, wouldn't have done. And I mean, I really feel blessed every single morning when I wake up.
For those interested, like I said, I'll link to where they can purchase the Chumash and where they can find Shnayim Yomi on the website, and they can join any of the platforms they're interested in joining, any of the things that you mentioned. And so Bereshis is out now through ArtScroll, and throughout the year the plan is Shmois to come out with Shmois, V'yikra, like they're all going to come out this year. Is that the plan?
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye out on it, and if you're on the Storm Chat or WhatsApp chat or the Twitter, you'll see as I post the new volumes as they come out. So thank you, Elad, for joining me to talk about the Shnayim Mikra Targum Shnayim Yomi edition.
Thank you, Nachi. It was a pleasure meeting you out here on Liquid.